Welcome to Rugby Nation, episode 20 here at Rugby.com.au studio. Iain, Payten, Justin Harrison. What a result, what a week, what an opportunity for the Wallabies. It's just, team's just been made.
Episode 20, you mean? What a result that we made it this far.
And that Justin, you're still alive after a week of Bledisloe lunches as well. There's just news everywhere. So,
well, technically, yeah, I am to lunch a lot, but also Gold-Blooded Tour went down to Bunbury as well. Don't forget, part of the 61-day tour.
How many days did that go for?
61 days,
okay,
I think it was.
Pretty good effort with that, but we'll get to it. But let's get straight into rugby. Bledisloe Cup last week.
Wow.
Like, what's doing? Where'd that come from?
Oh, out of left field. It came from Perth. What a amazing night it was. You guys were all there. That was my first look at the stadium. Ticks every box that everyone talks about. It was incredible. Incredible night. We'll get into it, but what a great lifter for the game and for everyone in Australian rugby.
And talk about records. So a record against Argentina in Brisbane. It was the biggest crowd they've ever had in a rugby championship, a home one. A record again in Perth. What is it, 62,000? The biggest sporting event there held. So all of a sudden, the Wallabies brand, and you think about it, like it just pokes up when they're winning and it explodes. So rugby fans are there. They just need to see the Wallabies winning.
Well, I think sport fans are there. That's the Australian culture, isn't it? Go to a sporting contest. I think the pleasing thing about the result and the weekend was that is a disenchanted region of Australia, particularly historically what's gone on with the Super Rugby permutations of Western Force. A large percentage of that crowd were interested in what this spectacle was. They wanted to go and see the All Blacks, not necessarily the Wallabies. A fair amount of them probably West Coast Eagles membership holders. And the message I think that came through was it's not about supporting rugby union, it's about supporting your national team. You can still go and watch AFL, you're not jumping ship, but come along to this spectacle and enjoy it. And that's, I think, a large percentage of that crowd will be back now trying to either get onto Fox subscriptions or look at how they can become involved in Rugby Australia again.
The good thing, actually, before we dive into the detail of the game was you jump on social media and halfway through that game, 3/4 of the way through the game, there's a lot of chat about people saying, how good's this? Did you see this bit? Did you see that bit? People who aren't necessarily would tweet about rugby or the Wallabies at all, So that's an indication that people are there, and like that, the national team bit, they watch. They're there. They may not be as vocal as all the narcs who get on board when things aren't going well, but there are a lot of people who will watch and are feeling good this week because beating the All Blacks is a major achievement.
There's been a team of builders across from my road, my house, where I live, because it's what you do in houses, waking me up incessantly for the last 4 months, 6 a.m, building site, right? And they're leagueies. They talk about league, someone got onto someone and said that my history, right? And they give me a bit of grief every time I walk out the door. Monday morning, I walked out the door, 6 tradies with Wallaby scarves on, and then as soon as I walked out, they were waving them in the air. We had a great night on the weekend. We were at the pub. We had to ask the publican if that was live or if it was a replay because the Wallabies were beating the All Blacks. How good are you? And so, mate, just like that. Yeah,
it can come. And look, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but let's get the detail of the game. And going into records, it was the biggest or equal biggest winning margin of 21 points.
Biggest winning margin from 99, so 21 points. The most points that has been scored against the All Blacks by anyone ever in history.
Wow.
Since 1903.
Between the two of them. So
no, but by anyone, 47
Why did Will Genia take the 3 in the end? Just to get 50 in there and just, I don't know. Anyway, let's talk at it. Let's go through the game because I know there's so many records, but the best thing I thought about the game was the press afterwards. I thought it would just be all about Wallabies lucky to win with 14 men, all that sort of stuff around Barrett's red card. However, I still think they would have won comfortably with the way they were approaching it and they were going into halftime. They had all the momentum. Talk us through the red card with Barrett.
Well, I think you're right. You got to talk about the first half because it's informative of this weekend as well, right? When there is a card thrown in, yes, you got to get the job done after that. But like you say, the first half, the Wallabies were dominant. They were the better team, Good can talk more about the tactical, but they had Barrett not been carded at that point, they probably were looking like scoring. They could have gone into the break at 20-12 up. you're never confident that you're going to beat the All Blacks, right? Because we've been leading at halftime against the All Blacks a lot and get run down. But really positive signs that was very much on the cards that night.
And as we segue into sort of what you were saying before around technical or tactical, you were calling the game with Fox Sports and Rod Kafer. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just about to. His comments, Kafe he doesn't commentate to keep people happy. He's very honest in what he says. And has he got that one right in what he said around it being...
That they targeted Hooper's head, basically.
Yeah. Look, who knows? No one's a mind reader, but there was absolutely, you look for talisman in teams and you look to devalue their power in a team by targeting them. There's no doubt. Now, whether that was, who knows, right? How's he know? It's probably an assumption. But, Hooper, captain of the team, clearly a leader now. The real intent that the Wallabies brought onto the field and clear game structure around being physical across the park. Physicality is one of those. Michael Hooper's involved in a lot of physical confrontations, so of course it's going to look like he's getting targeted. I don't think they target him.
No, but I think they target him. I don't think they target the head.
I don't know, but I think we're naive to think that teams don't go into a game with 3 names on a whiteboard or 3 names on a sheet. We used to go with Richard McCaw. Remember, we used to train and someone used to wear an orange bib when we do pose sessions, and they were Richie McCaw, and you had to find that orange bib.
Yeah, and it's a sign of respect, right? And Hooper would know it and cop it in most games.
So the summary of that situation would be is that Cave's comments were probably right, but deliberately let's go after Hooper's head. I don't know how it reads. That's probably false. And I don't think anyone's going into a game to be illegal.
The red card was entirely justified. When you look at it in all the replay angles, arm tucked in, we could debate till the cows come home whether the laws are breaking down the game too much, where accidents can be result in red cards essentially. But I don't think you can justify you can't sort of argue against under the current World Rugby guidelines that ticked every box in terms of a red card. Bit jumping around here, but first half effort, Goog, tell us, to me it looked like the Wallabies were going forward and across the gain line with the best I've seen in years. And there's obviously things being manipulated to be able to get those strong runs through. But why were they? I think they made something like 8 journeys into the All Blacks 22 in the first half, which is just unheard of. Or might not be that much, but it was double or triple the normal. Why were they so effective? When it was 15 on 15, why were the Wallabies looking so good?
Oh, look, there's a couple of things going on, but I think Whitey, the way that Nick White attacked both sides of the breakdown every time, they exposed short side a lot, they exposed open side a lot. James O'Connor splitting the field, Jimmy O'Connor, he could be first receiver every now and then sometimes, but they had both options open every time, which meant the tight 5 for the All Blacks were fatigued, right? They had to stay in the game the whole time. They didn't get a chance to recuperate. When you take a lazy line in defence, sometimes it's going open, so you take a short side option and you just relax, right? The whole first half, they couldn't. And I think they fatigued them. I think our tight 5 just outperformed them in urgency, won the race around the corner and kept them active the whole game. We had something like 70% possession in that first 35 minutes. That's fatiguing. Attack is fatiguing, but when it's simple and direct, and you have to stay on in defence, I think fatigue got them. And physicality. We were just winning that contest more.
Yep. Yeah. Alan Alatoa's hit on, I think it was Sam Cane. It was just a bell ringer.
But what a great, Brumbies Player of the Year. Yeah. First time a front rower's ever won it.
Yeah, coming back off a decent break from injury.
Coming off a spell and has that sort of impact in a Bledisloe Test match.
Yeah, he was very good. And the other impact on the game was just the Wallabies being able to use that one-man advantage and actually finding the outside flank. I thought they were really good. But look, let's look at this week in a couple of days' time. Big out for mine for the Wallabies is Rory Arnold. I think he's been outstanding. I know he's highly rated by Scott Johnson, who's just come in, and you can't underestimate the effect that Byrne and potentially he has had on the side. But he's a big out for them. And again, no Pocock. So we'll park the Pocock one for the minute. But Arnold is replaced by Coleman, similar type of player. I just think Arnold probably adds a little bit more in set piece as far as scrum. But how do you see that change? I'll probably cut to you, Gould, being a...
I just think we talk about combinations in backlines all the time. Forward pack combinations are very important as well. You know, Rodder and Arnold was a settled second row combination that both very comfortable in their own roles and both complementing each other around the field. That dynamic will be unsettled a little. Adam Coleman certainly very similar in physicality and physical stature on the field, coming off injury. Excitable sort of player. Discipline's going to be the key for him. I think he's got the same sort of skill set as Rory, but certainly Rory. You know, we've watched a guy like Marika Corambetti, right? Rory's still a late bloomer to the game as well. We've seen him learn himself into the game and how to use his body shape correctly. That's what I'd like to see from Coleman.
Yeah,
and Coleman came on late and
great impact,
angry ant impact, and that's probably your biggest concern. He's a great player. He probably hasn't hit the heights he hit maybe a year or two ago recently. Battled a lot of injury, but that sort of that he doesn't come out like this is my big chance and I'm going to smash people and give away.
But we need him to do that
because
right?
But discipline
just stay on the field doing it.
Discipline has been so very effective this year.
Not that.
They were extremely disciplined on the weekend, and all of those little things, like you talk about the add-ups that equal a victory, the discipline was a big part of it.
Yeah. And this might sound strange, I just think that the Wallabies appeared for the first time settled. Like, there's no one in that team, apart from one, and I'll get to that in a minute, no one in that team is borderline contract negotiation, in and out of the squad. It's not feeling like they know what they're going to be doing for the next 6 months. It just seems really settled.
You mentioned that team, which has been named today, and there were question marks because whether the team would change dramatically. They did the same thing in 2015 pre-World Cup. We've got to look at people. Yeah. Clearly, the chat in the camp is like, no, we just roll, we keep rolling, and that's great. I think that's great because back in the day, back in 99, 03, this whole trialling thing didn't happen. It was just you pick your best team and you roll forward. And I think the selection panel.
It's working?
Fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's just good, solid chat back and forth. Like maybe Czech as the coach would have liked to stick with what he did in 15, but there's clearly other voices in that room now. It's like, let's go after this split as I can.
Yeah. So, Pocock, you reckon he's struggling? And this is all hypothetical. We don't know anything, but for him not to be picked this week, there's many different reasons. Do you think it's not right, or speaking of not right, Liam Wright has come onto the bench, so I think that's a great selection. Massive fan. I think he's an awesome player, but does Pocock not get picked because if he doesn't play this, he gets another extended break, and then you use him in Samoa, try and play him 80 against Samoa, which will be at Bankwest Stadium, so big crowd expected there. Is that a better journey for him to get to the World Cup rather than giving him 20 high risk backwards? I just don't know. No one knows. And you try and get some comms out of him, he just doesn't know either.
Yeah, well, calf injuries are like that, right? They're like, there's one of those injuries that you can never put a finger on in terms of longevity.
You couldn't put a finger on yours because yours are...
I don't have them.
He's got all of our
stretched
calves.
Skin across my shin.
You don't have... Why didn't you have calves? Were you just born without them? Is it some type of, I don't know, deficiency?
I think I probably just was busy growing to the average height of most human beings, unlike you. But Pocock, let's not forget that Scott Johnson said we're going to pick on form, not reputation as well, right? This Wallaby team is picking itself at the moment, so who knows? He might be fit. He might be fit to go and not selected.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, hadn't thought of that.
And rested.
Do you take David Pocock to the World Cup if you think he's going to be right for round one?
Here's my theory on this week. The bench, we all think about, bench, give him 20 minutes, this and the other. You've got to be able to play 75 minutes. Right? Because if things go pear-shaped, 2 blokes get knocked out.
Mate, you've got to be ready for a bloke to blow his hamstring on the kick-off.
Exactly. First go. So is David Pocock ready for 79 minutes?
As an open side.
That's the problem because you get all the way down. He'd probably play 50 or 60 out of his skin, but then fatigue, etc., etc. So maybe that's a concern. But how do you ameliorate that? There's no club rugby for him to play anymore. You know what I mean? Like he's been training, full-on training with these blokes for 2 or 3 weeks.
Could he play for a round against Argentina?
No. good enough.
No.
So
not old enough.
Yes, my stance on this has always been that he would go to the World Cup, and that's what I heard early doors, that they won't risk him in anything. They'll just take him to the World Cup.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. But speaking about playing, you think he would be playing out of his skin. Michael Hooper last week, just like, it's almost like when Poey's not there, Hoops just grows into this different beast. Like, he ran down everything. I'd hate to read his GPS monitor. I'd hate to be the person sitting next to him and seeing his data from his GPS in the back of his jersey and then seeing yours, because you'll never beat him.
Yeah, someone sent me some stats on Hooper. Competition high for tackles, pilfers, runs for a forward, run metres for a forward.
Wow.
In rugby championship.
Mate, he's a freak. He's a freak. And you see him at captain's run, he's just grown up a bit. He's just like a little tank now. He must be lifting more tin or something.
Well, there was a great photo, and we can chuck it up, of him. I don't know when it was. Must have been near the end. Battered, bruised. He had a cut down the eye. Yeah, fan man will throw it up. He had his arms up doing this one, and there were a couple of all black backs. You could see the emotion in his face. You know, he's a pretty cool, calm customer. But
enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's kick into this game just because
after he'd had his head battered around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you've got to go to a lunch or something, don't you?
In Samoa.
Bald pigs coming off.
Yeah,
coming out.
Good one for you. Adam Ashley Cooper back on the bench. I think that's the right call in place for Banks. Although Banks, I've got a lot of opinion for. He'll be a player to watch in many years. AAC, better to have on there. ABs.
AAC will go to the World Cup, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Talk me through some of the changes of the All Blacks. It's probably the first team. I still think we should be underdogs, not getting carried away with it. It's going to be a massive assignment. But the ABs have made some selections that sort of suggest that, let's say the word, not the right word, clutching, but they sort of suggest
there's jittery.
There's
a
jittery.
bit jittery.
Very, very slight jitters.
Yeah.
Talk me through some of those changes, Payten.
Well, you've got Sevu Reece and George Bridge, the two Crusaders wingers, being called in, and Ben Smith and Rieko Ioane out.
Incredible.
And the talk out in New Zealand is that Ben Smith's just been cold dropped. Rieko might have been a bit of a rotation kind of situation.
Okay.
And Owen Franks out of the front row, and Nepo Laulala in. You know, like
Smith is huge.
If you're a Wallabies fan and you see Smith, Ioane, and Franks out of the team, like, you're pretty happy with that, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. But it just gives
pressure's on for Steve Hansen back in New Zealand. Like they've had he's just had it's been a so-so rugby championship, right? You know, like a loss, a draw, and something or other. I mean, it makes me incredibly nervous that they're the most motivated that they will be for a long time at Eden Park. But, you know, like, it's the toughest place to win anywhere in the world. But, you know, that opens a slight crack of an outside door on the veranda. You know,
we can't get too carried away as Wallaby fans. Like, there's still daylight between them and the field, right? We get that. We've had a long bit of pain, 13 years, but just an interesting one without notice, Payten. Have the All Blacks ever gone 3 games without a win in a row?
Probably. I don't know.
Okay.
But the one stat that I will throw at you is that since 2002, when we surrendered the Bledisloe Cup, we've only 2003 we surrendered. We've only had 4 live chances to win the Bledisloe back. So win the first game, win or draw the first game. We've only had 4, and each time we've gone to Eden Park to get the job done in the second test. And do you want to know the average score of those games?
No, I don't actually.
39-14 to the bad guys.
Yeah,
so they won the Bledisloe 12 times in the history of.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do, and this is, you know, like it. As Nick White said the other day, you know, it was a nice little slip in. They're all saying, look, you know, nothing's happened yet. It's just an opportunity. But he said, when we get it done, it'll be an all-timer, you know, something like that. Yeah. And it's so true. When that, because the record has to be broken at some point.
That's right.
Yeah. And, you know, this team is buoyant, confident, not overconfident, but, you know, with these changes and the momentum out of last week, who knows?
Are you calling for Fox Sports while you're over there?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'm doing some
commentary. Can you just drop buoyant in as like 3 times during the call?
Just a couple of times.
Just buoyant. Just like maybe anything.
Well, I'll tell you what. So this generation of All Black player doesn't know adversity, right? So adversity builds character, and I just question whether this team, All Black team, knows how to respond to genuine adversity.
Right.
You know,
It's interesting point.
It's the element of the unknown.
Well, back
I've
in
just
20
been burnt so many times that
you're just used to it.
I'm used to it. So you go over there as a punter, not as a player.
You don't want to get your
punter.
hopes up. But look back on that point, 2015, this is the same situation, right? We went to Eden Park to try and get the job done. It was a heavy defeat. But in that, you look at that 15 team who then went on to win the World Cup as Yukatas, McCaws, Marnonus, all those guys who had seen adversity.
They'd been part of 03 semi-loss. Right. They'd been part of Bledisloe losses.
So these are guys who understand how to pick themselves up and respond. Yep. I mean, maybe we're clutching here.
Yeah, well, look, who knows? But I think those scars from those players you just spoke about then, they've worn them proudly and had much success. And just on all of this before we go to the Wallaroos, haven't spoke about Michael Checker. You have to give him a rap of sort of where he's taking this team. And I know he's got different support staff and a new look team. Like, he's still the bloke that needs to drive that. And I still think he's going to be almost like that figurehead of hope when we get over to the World Cup. So he's obviously
genius. Is he going to pull it off?
But it's probably the first time. Like, he loves fronting the media. He loves doing the press. And not to say he loves the limelight. He takes it on board, right? Yeah. This year just feels like a bit of that has been taken off.
He's kept everyone at arm's length.
Mate,
he's gone 0 dark 30. Like, he hasn't talked at all and doesn't want the team talking, which is it's a real tactical ploy. And the thing about doing that is then you've got to come out and actually do your talking on the field, and they did. So fair play.
Look, it's one game, so let's not get carried away. But it's easy to do it when you're heading to Eden Park with that big trophy. Now, Wallaroos, disappointing, but they shouldn't be disillusioned. It was 47-10 over the weekend, but they go to Eden Park and they've got a big challenge ahead of them.
And what a great test that was, right?
Oh, unreal. But you look at that team, the first 40 minutes, they blew so many opportunities at set piece to the little skills.
Line out.
Three tries that they probably could have scored. They may have taken points. So we've just got to know that this program has only really been in this professional state like this for about 18 months.
Well, you talked about the All Blacks being streets ahead. Like the Black Ferns are even further ahead. They are the best team in women's rugby by a long, long way. They're the only fully professional team in women's rugby. And it was pointed out last week that 15s, pardon me, yeah. So, and you look at that Black Ferns team, a lot of 30-plus women who are very, very experienced. There's girls in the Australian team who are in their second or third year of rugby, full stop. So there's still a development process going on there. But they were way too good for Australia. They were aggressive. They rattled the Wallaroos right off their game plan. Dwayne Nestor said afterwards that his team got bullied. They just got absolutely rattled. There was stuff that New Zealand was so good that the Wallaroos weren't allowed to play their game at all, barely. And the line-out melted, which basically meant that they had very little ball. What ball they did have, they took into contact and had it stripped off them. So they couldn't have played much worse, like with all due respect, the Wallaroos, they didn't actually put much of their game on the park. So if they can actually manage to fix up some of those problems and put their game on the park, there were periods in that second half when they looked good and they were rolling forward nicely. So they tend to improve the Wallaroos as the games go on. So let's hope that Eden Park we see a much better effort.
Another record too, the biggest ever crowd for an international women's 15s game. So 3 records in 3 weeks for Australian rugby. So good signs ahead. So Justin, as we wrap things up, it's been a pretty big 3 months for you. Gold-blooded tour, Classic Wallabies having a huge part of it. You've been instrumental. I think over 10,000 kids, players, visiting over 100 clubs and schools. Pretty huge effort for you, and it's probably good that you can get back home and introduce yourself to your wife and cleanse the liver a bit. But
first name basis with my children.
Yeah, good.
Introducing myself again.
There's Daddy off FaceTime.
Mummy, there's a tall man in the kitchen.
There's a stranger sleeping on the couch.
Builder again. I think for you though, a huge effort, but. Just tell me the importance of these classics doing this stuff in the community, and then it goes a little bit unnoticed, but it's the first time everyone's starting to say, hey, the classics are actually doing the right thing and being out in the community and just seeing so many kids in gold jerseys.
Yeah, and what a fantastic initiative from Rugby Australia, to engage the people of the story, right? The story's often about high performance and trophies and the professional model, but we've forgotten about the storyline along the way and the support. You know, when we can't confuse lack of international results for the moment with health of game. The health of the game is very good. There are communities thriving on rugby, and that is the binding agent across rural Australia. You know, over 9,000 kilometres, every region of Australia had an engagement with rugby, and it was about welcoming people who were curious, validating people who've been involved, mums and dads, boys and girls, all recognising that they're all connected, they're all gold-blooded, they're all got a golden thread running through them, and they're allowed to be patriotic about this national brand that's a global product.
And well said. And just a final question, and you're going to feel a bit uncomfortable about this one. Do you have product in your hair? Because your hair's at a point at the moment. It's like, it looks like it's some type of, I don't know, trendy haircut because you push the sides
It's
down.
Tintin. I'm channeling Tintin at the moment. I just need my little Jack Russell, and then I'm away. Tintin.
Yeah.
Throw forwards. Next week is the Wallabies World Cup squad announcement on Friday.
We shouldn't call it live here. Let's do. I think calling it in the Qantas
It's
hangar.
in the Qantas hangar. Yeah. Rugby Nation from the hangar.
So thanks, Goog. Thanks, Payten. 3 rugby records, a Wallabies win, gold-blooded tour, dream big time. So much good stuff happening in rugby in this country, and we look forward to bringing you more next week. Hopefully, Wallaroos and Wallabies get the win. We wish you all the very best of luck, and hopefully see you next time here with maybe a fairly big trophy.